We've been doing movie nights for
years.
a Gen Xer and
A Gen Z. Random weird moments that the two of us have experienced, and there are a lot of those.
And he crashes them.
As you do.
It's like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, where did this come from? Why are we singing?
I mean, you're not going to learn anything about the movies listening to us talk. This is the Argo City Podcast. Film, conventions, and fan life with Maddie and Matthew. Okay, and we are back. So I wanted to tell you a quick story.
Okay.
Well, so the thing is, we've mentioned it before, but I stayed home when you were a baby.
Yes.
Like, I was working an IT job, and about a month after you were born, they laid me off.
Ugh.
I still kept the fleece that was part of like the uniform,
Yeah,
but I put a patch over it so that I don't show the actual company name.
No, and you've had that jacket for a while.
Yeah, you can actually kind of still see a little bit of the logo
yeah,
there.
I can kind of see it in the middle of it.
Yeah, but so when you're staying home with the baby, you do watch a lot of daytime television. So,
Okay.
It's just a thing.
Well, now that makes me wonder which part you're specifically going to with this.
Well, I mean, like when I was a kid, daytime television was game shows. It was The Price is Right, or stuff like that. In the early 2000s, daytime television was terrible reality TV or like cheap documentary reality TV. Mm-hmm. Which brings us to today's movie.
Oh my gosh.
So you actually finally hit the movie box of documentary. You hit the documentary track in the movie box of doom with Breaking Vegas.
Yes. And that was I didn't really know what to expect going into this.
I didn't know how you'd react to this because, look, I like documentary. Okay, I watch tons of documentary stuff. I read a lot of nonfiction, a lot more than you'd expect. And this is one of those that was like on every other day. So it kept popping up. Mm-hmm. But it's way more interesting than it deserves to be.
That is true.
And that's what I was hoping with you, because I wasn't sure.
Well, no, I'm up or down when it comes to documentaries. There are some where I can get really into it, and there are others that just bore me to death. This is one of the few ones I found that actually did really hold my interest.
And I mean, it's cheapo television, cheapo basic cable. We need to fill an hour and a half, so let's grab as many talking heads and as much stock footage as we can.
I was going to say, it felt like those clips kept repeating over and over and over again.
They absolutely did. And it's very cheap, plain vanilla television. But the subject matter is just, it's really interesting. Now, it's interesting to me as well because I have a thing for Las Vegas.
Yes, it's for you. It's like that in New Orleans.
Yeah, Las Vegas is really one of those places that I would love to visit. I've always wanted to visit, and I never have. Now, for me, I want to visit Las Vegas for the buffets and for the magic.
Of course, that's where you'd go.
It really is. I want the food, and I want to go see as many magic. Sadly, the amazing Jonathan is no longer with us, but Jeff McBride's still out there, I'm pretty sure. And, I mean, I'm not a gambler. I've never been into gambling. Mm. In fact, I kind of look down on it. Even like when Mom will buy a lottery ticket. I'm like, seriously? There's an old joke, Isaac Asimov includes it in his Treasury of Humor, that, so I I had a poker night with the guys, and like I've always been brought up to not gamble, and I felt so guilty about it that I went and next time I was back home, I had to tell my dad.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I gambled with the fellas, and I just feel like I had to tell somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And his father asked him, "Okay, well, so how much did you win? Did you lose? How much?" And Asimov said, "I lost 15 cents." And his father said, "Oh, good. I was worried that maybe you had won 15 cents."
Oh. I have heard of that where people will like gamble with pennies just for the fun of it.
But it can turn into a real fixation real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things that I don't want to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And I never have. So that's not the appeal of Las Vegas. But the bright lights, the magic, the glitz, the glamour, that always has. So when this would keep coming up, like there'd also be like, okay, here are the top 10 best resorts in Vegas, or the American Casino reality show, which you cannot find anywhere, partially because the owner of that casino died in the middle of the show and they kept making the documentary. So it's never showed up again anywhere.
Oh.
This one in particular, and I found it on YouTube a while back, so I ripped it off, but I bet you could still find it up there. This one just fascinates me. So Breaking Vegas is the story of the MIT blackjack team and how they would travel to Vegas and how much money they made and just the whole scheme. And I think that's enough of a description. It's based on a couple of books. I've got one of them here. I brought this out since I don't have like a DVD cover to show you.
Yes, the book says Busting Vegas with a $sign on it with a very weird picture on the front.
Well, that's kind of the comps and stuff. We'll get into that. I think we will.
So a lot of this movie, the entire movie revolves around card counting. And there was one reason that there's technically two reasons that I know what card counting is. I didn't know in as much detail until today. But first of all, for any of you that have read Percy Jackson, there's a whole thing about where one of the characters essentially ends up trapped in a casino for like 20 years because Hades is trying to save his life. So he kind of grows up around that. The other reason is because of The Simpsons, oddly enough. Specifically, season 26, episode 16, Sky Police, follows Marge and the people from the church as they're trying to make money to repair it.
You know I do remember that.
It follows like them learning it and them doing it in the casino, even with the disguises and such. And that's the thing that immediately popped into my head.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about this, though, I bet you it's based on this, what we watched tonight.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious.
No, I'm seriously pretty sure.
I mean, they are
known based on the MIT card counting.
They are known to parody. So yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
There's a meme like Simpsons did it first.
Yeah, the Simpsons predicting the future.
You know what? I think that applies here.
So that's why I was generally aware of what card counting was.
You know what? That had not even occurred to me.
Mm-hmm. I had to look up to figure out which episode it was, but...
Well, and you know what? This is one of those kind of movies where it requires some research to truly appreciate what's going on. Like, we stopped.
We stopped about an half an hour, 45 minutes in the movie because I asked you, like, this is only like an hour and a half. Can we play a quick game of blackjack? Because I am so confused. And I bolted upstairs. I got my pretty deck, which I'll talk about later. And we played like 3 rounds of blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
And I proceeded to lose 2 out of the 3 rounds. But that doesn't matter because I won the first one and that makes me happy.
And playing it, suddenly, okay, so I get what they're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. And even when we were younger, you used to play blackjack and poker with me and Leah.
Well, see, that was a thing, too. And we'd play with candy or something like that if we did any
like
betting
pennies.
at all. But for the most part, it was mostly just about competition and playing. Because, again, I stayed home with you guys.
Yeah.
It was just a good opportunity. Okay, you know what? baby is a month old. I don't have a job. Mom can work. And I will stay home for a little while, for a couple of years here. And this is one of the things we did. We played blackjack, we played poker, but especially blackjack, actually. We played a lot of blackjack because this taught you guys counting skills.
Counting from a very, very young age.
So it's like,
good.
okay, count your cards, figure out what number do you have there. Okay, you've got a 3 and a 4, so what's that? That's 7. Okay. And literally, that's why I was playing blackjack with you.
I just find that hilarious that that was something that we did.
Well, yes, because that's how a dad raises girls, not how a mom does.
Not like the little popcorn board games that mom would use with us.
But it all relates back to what we were watching then too. It gives you a little bit of background. It gives you some.
And I was going to say there was another thing I wanted to briefly talk about
Yes.
regarding poker in general. So, I graduated high school last year, and my senior prom's theme was casino. So, they didn't decorate at all. But we
decorated more than they did.
Yeah, like even my student council decorated more at my junior prom than at the senior one.
Like we made you an outfit.
Yeah,
we made you a purse.
We found me like a cheap purse online, and you added like cards to it. You added poker chips to it. It was so cute, and I bought a bunch of like candy or chocolate poker chips to hand out to people hand out to students
and we actually
stuff.
had to look for chocolate poker chips. It's does this even exist? Now, fortunately,
it did exist,
and fortunately, we live near the world's largest candy shop.
Yeah.
So, BB Sweeties is easy to grab what you need.
And even my best friend brought a poker. She brought like a whole case filled with like poker chips and cards, and we played like a game or two. Mm-hmm. I brought a bunch of small games that we played at one of the tables, even like outside at one point because I get overstimulated with all the noise. But like, so just because of that, I find that really fascinating. And at that prom, so we got a little poker chip, which had like the name of like the prom and the date and stuff. But I also got this really beautiful deck of cards. It's like a black deck with like golden insignia. It was beautiful. And when we originally played, I bolted upstairs to grab it because I literally haven't used it.
Those are such nice smooth cards too. Like,
they're so pretty,
plasticky and smooth, and they work in the hands real quick. When I do magic, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually use actual casino cards. Mm-hmm. Because the casinos will use a deck of cards for a few hands, an hour or so, and then they get rid of them.
Yeah, because
and
they
those
could be
end up at
marked.
like the Dollar Tree or in the gift shop, and I'll buy them up because magic's a part of Las Vegas. So it's But no,
anyway,
yours were so nice, and they slid so well.
I was so happy about that.
Vegas is a whole genre in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
When I started the movie, you were surprised because what did you think this was going to be?
I thought that this movie was going to be like tips and tricks on how to beat like casinos, or like I can't say somebody attempting to beat it, but like someone talking about ways that other people have done it, or like just generally like a documentary of how different casinos have been beat, maybe how some of them got shut down or something like that. I don't know. That's what I thought it would be. I was very wrong.
I came into this wondering, is she going to get into this?
I
was really surprised. I was really worried that you might not, but I was pleased that you did.
No, I was totally in on this story.
It really is such a compelling story of these college kids that are going out on the weekends, and I mean, it's a bizarre double life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a college is enough of a commitment if you're going full time, and then these 20, 30-year-old kid, like
20,
like
early,
yeah,
20,
like
your
early
age.
20, yeah, like
these
early
kids are your age.
early 20-year-olds just going across the country to gamble. Like, holy crap! I mean, it's enough of a commitment trying to keep up with homework. Even I have a bit of a rough time keeping up with homework some days, and they're doing both of these. How? Where do you sleep? When do you sleep?
Oh, you don't sleep in Vegas. That's sleeping is a waste of time in Vegas. But also, like how high these stakes are.
Oh my gosh, they
We're
were
talking
in,
about $75,000
like
on the table.
$150,000 betting on a single hand. Like, oh my gosh. The one thing that I was thinking a lot throughout this whole movie is, why do these people not know when to walk away? We're constantly dealing with the threat of like being caught by security or things like that. And I'm just like, okay, you've made like $75,000. Why don't you leave now before they start getting suspicious? I understand you're trying to make money for this like company, but like, you need to know when to walk away. And I feel like I don't understand that seems like something that a lot of gamblers would struggle with. But if they went through so much effort to draw up contracts and to drop all this, I would think that they would have a limit and then you leave.
See, now that's an interesting idea. The idea of maybe, okay, so our target, our goal is this. Because, I mean, if it's open-ended...
Mm-hmm. You're not going to know when to stop.
That's the thing. If it's open-ended, we're looking back in hindsight, and okay, yeah, you won enough. You should leave now, but... in the heat of the moment, I think that's a harder call to make.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's just that's what was running through my head as an outsider.
It's like you want them to.
Yeah.
Because you want them to get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You want them to get out. You don't want them...
They're paying their tuitions. Like...
You don't want them getting thrown into the back rooms. And
to get their hands hit by hammers.
So, yes, because that's the thing. One of the things I also... took you aside real quick, and we watched a few segments of an old gangster movie called Casino. This is another reason, though, why I'm such a fan of Las Vegas, because I have a fascination with the mafia and with gangster lore, and I know a lot of it. So, yeah, like, let's look at the back room real quick. So that's a kind of extreme version of backrooming.
Why would...
But that happened.
That's got to be illegal, though.
Gangsters. Yeah.
But
Lefty Rosenthal
I mean, I guess they didn't really need
was mobbed up.
I guess they didn't really need licenses back then.
Yeah, they needed a license. In fact, Lefty spent most of his time trying to get a license, but because he was mobbed up, because he was associated with unfortunate characters like Tony Spilatro, he couldn't actually get a license. Now, by the time we hit Breaking Vegas in the 90s, the mob had pretty much been run out of Vegas. But that's not to say that things like that didn't happen. So when we talk about backrooming, that's the kind of fear and... oh my gosh, holy crap. The manager's walking up to me, and that's also what they mean when they say to getting the money out.
Well, yeah, and like I'll have stuff to bring up about that later, but that
So yeah, you're right. Get hit with a hammer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, so the casino owners is watching the casino managers. Mm-hmm. The casino managers are watching the pit bosses. The pit bosses are watching the dealer, and the eye in the sky is watching us all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just like, ugh. We have cameras at my work where the general manager can watch us at literally any time, and it's just, I understand what it's like to be constantly on camera. I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything wrong, unlike these people, which actually brings me into my other like thing. Constantly worrying about getting in trouble where like these people have no really, I mean, they're not doing anything illegal.
No, they're not doing anything illegal.
They're doing stuff that's frowned upon and that the casinos don't like because they're making that moolah. But like, they're just like,
well, and it's hard to know who to root for.
Yeah.
Because the casino does have absolute right to say, this is a private business, this is private property. Your place just too good for us. We'd like you to leave.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we go back to that joke I told earlier. It's good. I'm so glad to hear you lost 15 cents instead of winning 15 cents. Instead of getting hooked on that feeling, on that rush. And the casinos absolutely are taking advantage of that.
I will just say, if any of you guys are curious about like the way that casinos like mess with your mind, I would recommend the Infographics YouTube channel. They've got a really great video on it that I watched a while back. They go into a lot more of the like things that they do.
Yeah, but it's sense. It's the way it's laid out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that the carpet and the ceiling, they're busy patterns to keep you from looking at them. They want you looking straight ahead.
Yeah, no windows in the casino to make you lose track of time, and
right.
like
there's a quote in Ocean's 11 where they say, okay, so I want you to know these casinos inside and out. They're built like mazes to keep you in.
Yeah, like IKEA. It's like an IKEA. They constantly like you never know where you're going.
But you know what? It is like IKEA. Because also, IKEA is offering you Swedish meatballs and stuff like that to keep you in.
Exactly.
And the casino is offering you
You
stuff
free
too.
steaks as well. Exactly.
They're offering you drinks and rooms.
And food and like all of that stuff.
No. Wow. I don't think anybody has ever compared a casino in Las Vegas to IKEA. But I hope everybody does that. That needs to be a thing. Oh, that needs to be a thing.
Oh my gosh. Another one of the things that I kept trying to discuss, and you kept shutting me down to talk about it here, was just the percentages that the managers and the people were getting.
Yes,
and
let's get into that.
The whole last 20 minutes of the movie essentially talks about how the players aren't happy.
Well, let's start off. What's the breakdown?
Is 40. It's 45 for managers, 45 for investors, and 10% for the players.
Right.
That is not even, you're not even making half of what those managers are making, and yet you are doing all the work. Yes, they're training you, and yes, it's their method. I totally get that, and I believe that they probably should be getting paid a little bit more. But 10%, you're not even making half.
Well, they're also making an hourly on top of that. They did mention that.
Oh, they're
making a wage. And the 10% is the bonus on top of that. But here, let me ask you this.
What was the hourly wage?
They mentioned it.
I didn't catch that when we were watching.
But I mean, it's negligible compared to 10%. Because like, if you're making $10 an hour, or 48 hours, and you won $1 million, and you're getting 100, or you made $100,000, and you're getting 10 of that.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you this question.
Okay.
When you go to the casino, they had to lay out an initial investment. They have to have cash in hand to go into the casino. Mm-hmm. So investors and management pulled together $1 million to get things started.
Okay.
The players didn't do that.
That's true.
So if the players wanted to go in on their own, what are they going in with? $10? $100? Where does that $1 million come from? That comes from the investors.
That's true. I don't like that.
Let's go a step further. Because they went through a losing streak.
That's true.
And there's some times when the players lost. Let's say, what did they say? Like the Russian lost at one point, like 75,000 or something like that.
I think it was like 70, or it was 70,000 or 150,000
in
the span of a couple seconds.
Yeah, but that's not his money. They didn't come after him asking him to pay that back. He still got his hourly. He didn't get any bonus. And by the way, one of the rules was if your fellow players lose, we're not making fun of that. We're not busting their chops for that.
Yeah, that was a good rule to put in place.
And that's kind of where some of this comes in at. The reason the investors and the manager makes more is because it's their money. They're the ones who are taking the risk. The players aren't taking any risk as far as their own investment.
What about their safety, though?
That's a risk that they know up front, I think. At least I would argue that. And see, this is what we're arguing here right now. It's not players versus Mr. M. We're actually discussing capitalism in a microcosm. The players didn't know how to do this at the beginning.
Yeah, and they
didn't have the stake to put up. Now, to be fair, management did some dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I think you could argue the players should be able to renegotiate for a bigger stake.
Maybe on like bigger pay wins.
Yeah. But on the other hand, remember those comps we were talking about? The hotel rooms.
They are the ones that are getting those benefits.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't go back into the pot. They get to live like rock stars for a weekend. Do you remember what some of those comps were? Let's recount some of the ones that they talked about.
They were like the hotel, the food, the concert tickets.
Private flights occasionally.
Yeah, one guy paid
private jets.
One guy paid for his whole wedding.
One guy paid for a wedding at Caesar's Palace. So those fringe benefits, that's not going to management. That's the players are finding their own angles here too.
I get that, but here's my counter offer then.
Mm-hmm.
A higher stake when a set amount is won. Like let's say for example, generally you make, I don't know, $80,000 each time you come to the casino. If you make over 100,000 or like 200,000, let there be a cap and then give the players a bit more because they're the ones putting the money on the line. They're the ones risking.
And you know what? That's not unreasonable to me at all. But you know what you just did that the players didn't do?
What?
You just sat here and you negotiated that with me. You brought it up. You came to me and said, you know what? I don't think it's fair that I'm getting just 10%. So what if I win more than 10%? Can I get more?
Yeah. I guess
that's my answer to that. And that, I think, is the capitalist answer to that. Maybe it's just the conservative in me talking. I will defend capitalism because it's lifted more people out of poverty than any other economic system in history. But it's also, let's put our money where our mouth is. By the way, you know what they mentioned at the end? When the MIT team crashed and burned finally, when they couldn't operate anymore, the Russian went off.
And he started up his own club.
And did you notice something that he did differently than Mr. M?
He took the good ideas and...
Well, all the players that he recruited, he told them, okay, if you're going to play, you're going to invest. All of his team members, they had to kick in to create that stake.
Yeah.
So now the employees were also investors.
Yeah, they were also putting their own money, their own stuff on the line.
Right. So they're going to get a bigger percentage.
They started at a smaller amount, and they would have started to build their way up the more that they win.
Right.
I didn't realize that.
So he did take your idea and run with it. But somebody else had to come up with that idea first.
Yeah.
And that was Mr. M with the MIT team. Mm-hmm. I think you have a point. You do. But I think there's pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they could have made that argument if they'd lasted longer.
Yeah.
Because we also have to keep in mind, this whole thing, this is 2 years.
Yeah.
This is 92 and 93. I'm not even out of high school yet when this is happening. Maybe it didn't last long enough to thrive. Because when the Russian did his, didn't they mention that they, over however many years...
They made over $4 million.
Right. So he took the idea and made it better. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's kind of what capitalism does, too. The big problem, though, I think, was also that by the end, they'd all gotten made. They'd all gotten noticed. Mm-hmm. They all found themselves in the black book.
That's true. And they were trying to stay out of it, but it kind of brings me back to what I was talking about earlier. You need to know when to walk away and when to stop. And I think if they had kept up that whole idea of training new people, and once you've been in there enough, you become a manager. Yeah. And then you train the oncoming people based on your own experience. If we had gotten more time, they could have utilized that. This movie both amazes me and frustrates me at the same time.
They did actually make a feature film out of this.
They did?
They made a theatrical film. It's called 21. It stars Kevin Spacey. You may know from The Ref or from In or Out. It's actually one of the better Lex Luthors in Superman Returns. But the movie is terrible. This stupid basic cable TV documentary is better than the film. They try and make Mr. M look creepy and Machiavellian, and
he looked insane.
They show him scheming and thinking through all sorts of machinations behind the scenes and manipulating people And they go a little further, I think, than what needs to be. They turn the author of the book, they turn him into a folk hero of some sort, who then walks away just in time. It just does nothing for me. Whereas this, I feel like I come away from an adventure.
Yeah, it's like I don't really know how to describe it other than just like someone telling you a story. And it's just like this was fascinating.
Yeah. It does exactly what I think a good documentary should. And I hope we've
Yeah.
got a couple other good documentaries in the box to explore down the road. In the meantime, I think that's about it. And we will see you next week with Movie Box of Boom.
Bye.